Innovation, security, programming, technology, development.
Let's begin.
Devsecops, your cybersecurity in technology podcast.
Hello everyone, very welcome to one more episode of Devsecops podcast. Today I'm alone with a guest, of course not totally alone, but it's good that Marcos, Rodrigo and Gabriel, they are not here because they are bothered, that we don't like them. So it's still, at least today, we're gonna have a very good guest, a very nice guest, by the way, that I need to tell a bit of a small story about her in a moment before she introduces herself, just to make some emotions, to bring some emotions to the episode. But before that, I need to talk about our supporters, which is Checkmarks and Innovate, that they are specialized in software security. The links and everything that you need from them, it's on the bottom on the description of the episode on the YouTube, also on our website, devsecopspodcast.com.br. Do not forget about the Gold Security, that they are specialized in application security. If you want to develop safe code or secure code, you need to talk with Gold Security. Also, AppSec.jobs, there you're going to find your specialized application security jobs. Also, as a company, you can offer your jobs there for a very good price, promotion price, because I'm your friend, okay? This said, I need to, before I introduce to our guest today, which is a very special person, because she don't know about this, but I am kind of a very, not emotional, but I like to connect with people and this kind of thing. And she was the recruiter of my first opportunity outside Brazil. So for the whole audience that are there, they are thinking about moving and work abroad and so on. There will be some experiences that it can be very tough, but can be very easy as well. But this guest, which is Karolina, I will introduce her in a moment. She was the recruiter of my first opportunity. So I remember the third interview that we have, second or third interview, that she called me to say that I was approved. She didn't see on the camera, but I was like, yes! I was celebrating that everything went well. And it's this kind of person that we're gonna, save in our hearts for the whole life. These parts of our lives that we always will remember. So it's important to have this, this good career, be a nice person, etc., because this kind of things stick to us for the whole life, our professional life, either our personal life. But okay, no more stories. Karolina, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us. I think it's a very hard times with the agenda and everything, especially because we have almost summertime. So we should be on the pool and all these kind of things. But we are here recording. So again, thank you for your time. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello everyone. This is so nice to be here, and thank you so much, Casio, for introduction and also for the invitation here. So my name is Karolina Sochasz. I am Senior Talent Partner at ABB. I work in the Technology Center, which means that I am specialized in IT and engineering recruitment. I also look for the researchers to our center, so the technical world in generally. But I must say that previously I also worked for different scope of recruitment. So, for example, financial and banking area, also sales, recruitment, and any other. Once again, thank you for this. And let's have a nice chat today, hopefully.
Awesome. Thank you, Karolina, again for your time and everything. I think it's very valuable time that we can spend and share some tips and knowledge to the guys. And I would start with the first question that it's kind of always curiosity from my side. What do you think, or how you see the most difficult part as working as IT recruiter? Because we know that our market is like, they call the bubble, a lot of opportunities and not much workers. So tell us a bit how are the challenges? If you have any challenge, or if everything is easy. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's an easy life.
Well, sometimes it is, but in most of the cases, it's really not. So, there are plenty of challenges, of course, but maybe not to make it too long, I will say about the most significant ones. So, first of all, what you said about this job market and this bubble, of course, it is a huge dynamics on this IT and engineering market. there are plenty of changes all the time, very rapid changes. And we as recruiters, believe me or not, but we also need to adjust to the changes. So it's not only the candidates, but also the recruiters who need to adjust to that. Also, the competition between the companies, it is huge. So it means that the market is very aggressive. It leads us to the situation when the recruiter job is quite stressful, especially in this technical area. I mean, the tough deadlines, also, the very high requirements when it comes to skills presented by the candidates, also the budget, of course, we cannot omit this topic. So there are plenty of things related to the job market itself, and also the gap between the job ads, so the available jobs on the market, and the skilled, qualified people. That's huge story, if I can say so. Then also another point that I would mention is technical knowledge. So if you want to be a good recruiter and a good point of contact for the candidate, but also for the business, for managers, for the technical teams, you need to have some basic technical knowledge. What I mean, of course, we will not be the technical experts, but at least we should know what is the technology that the candidate will use, what is the project about, where the applications will be used, how they will be working, and where. This is all the basic things, but I know that in many cases it doesn't work like it should. So definitely before we get into this technical world, we should read a lot about what is going on in IT industry or cybersec, etc. It is very important to also know the wording that candidates are talking to us. So sometimes guys use so many words that are kind of a black magic to us. So after the discussions, we need to go to the Google, and try to Google all those words just to be the partner in the conversation. That's very important. Then, of course, I need to mention the reluctance and unwillingness from the IT guys' sides when it comes to conversations with recruiters. So it is quite hard to really get you in the process. We need to be quite creative how to do that and how to attract you to join the conversations and the recruitment processes, because we know that you have plenty of offers available all the time in most of the cases. So we need to be really persistent. Just to give you an example, sometimes per month we need to send around 1,000 messages on LinkedIn, for example, to the candidates, and then we get 10 responses, for example. So sometimes you need to be really keep the motivation is quite hard, seeing the results, and we also have some targets and KPIs. So we need to somehow find the balance between all of that and try to combine it. And maybe one more thing that I would mention also here is diversity aspect. Quite popular right now, and in many companies it is a very important issue. And we know that this IT world is rather male-oriented, and to find this, to make the diversified hiring here is quite difficult. And here I can also share my personal experience with that. So I worked for one of the most popular public sector European bank. And my task there was only to deliver the candidates, the female candidates, to the recruitment processes for IT and engineering roles, very niche ones, and also with quite high requirements. It was almost impossible, to be very honest, find women with 15 years of experience in very niche scope, etc. Quite difficult thing, and also I know that for many recruiters, this is also the target. So here I also want to bring to the discussion this aspect, because it might be a challenge for us. And I hope that it will be changing, step by step in the market, also due to the society changes that we can observe, fortunately, right now.
Good, very good introduction point, I would say. And it's for the IT guys, as myself, we always think that HR, let's say, HR or recruitment job is a kind of easy job, because you just need to post your opportunities. You send this for the fish, and the fishes will come to you. That's all. If they don't come, it's because they have better fishers on the other side. Yeah? In general, is how I was thinking in the past, but after meeting you, of course, other colleagues, also after having business in Brazil, I know how hard is the recruitment process. And this last topic that you mentioned about diversity, I think it's a very important topic. On the other hand, as you mentioned, it was impossible to hire females specifically for IT. And when it comes to cybersec, it's already hard to find a human that fits that specific opportunity, So
I
sometimes,
agree.
and sometimes there are some campaigns or something like, oh, you need this specific kind of person, like girls, LGBT, whatever, and it becomes even more impossible to find because it's already hard to find specialized people, as you mentioned, like hard skills, soft skills, some specific things for the opportunity itself. Then when you find, but it's a man, it can't fit because I need a girl or whatever. So I think this point is important, but I think we are far from from the perfection on this word, I would say. Yeah.
Of course, and I can also add that again here there is another role of good recruiter. So being kind of also a person who educates, for example, the hiring manager or the whole company. Of course, usually we cannot really impact the whole company policy,
Yeah.
but this is also the place for us to really speak up and to say about the reality on the job market. So sometimes decisive people do not have this perspective. So here you need to be also courage to say it loudly. That's sorry, guys, but this is impossible.
It's awesome. That's the word for this case. I would say impossible. That's the point. Okay, Carolina. We talk about the challenges. Is there any funny parts, any good parts on this on this job? What do you
Fortunately,
say?
there are. Fortunately, yes. Of course, our job might be also very interesting and also give us some fun. So, for me personally, it is a great space to combine my interests because I have always been interested in this technical work, so IT or engineering, especially. But I cannot be engineer myself. Unfortunately, I don't have this kind of skills, qualifications. But being in the recruitment and working in a technology center, for example, very close to engineers, to researchers, to developers, it gives me plenty of opportunities, to be close to those technical topics and also to learn from them and somehow participate even in that change. Of course, on the small scale, but still. So that is the fun for me personally. But also, as IT recruiters, we are very close to the business. You can imagine that in most of the cases for the companies, this IT recruitment is a key recruitment because if we don't hire those people, probably the products will not be released on the market, the projects will be not realized, etc., etc. So it is directly linked with the company revenue. At least I see that in that perspective. So this also gives us the prestige and also being an advisor, sometimes even business partner in this type of conversations. We are really close to very important discussions within companies. Then maybe one more thing, it is also quite easy to search, at least search for IT guys, because there are many keywords that we can use. Comparing to research, for example, it is much easier because you can type even, for example, like technologies names and it works somehow, of course, to some point. But for example, in research, you need to be really study deeply what the person is doing in their PhD, etc. What is the subject of their research? So it is more difficult. So for IT, at least this part with technologies is a bit easier, and of course, contact with people. Even if IT, we do have it, so it's great because if someone really likes working with people, then it is a great place to really explore a lot of type of personalities. Also, those let's say more closed, more introverted. That's perfect, really.
No, nice. Because usually we think that it's just easy job, no funny parts. It's just searching and posting and this kind of things. But when you bring this topic, for example, this connection of people, let's say a personal interest on engineering, on this, and you mentioned that you don't have these skills, and just by our conversations in the coffee, I can say that you are already senior level in cybersecurity, more than the seniors that out there on the market. So
Thank you, Cassie. That's so nice. I forgot to mention one more thing because actually you said about it at the very beginning. You can somehow change the life of the person who you hire to the company. And this is also kind of a mission. For me, it is really important because if we, for example, relocate a person from the totally different corner of the world, we change the whole life for that
Yeah.
person. It is also a big responsibility on me, and I hope that your decision was good still. But this is also a fun for recruiters. I believe that we can change somebody's job for the better, hopefully.
Yeah, and it's, as you mentioned, it's a big responsibility, because sometimes you have your own, as you mentioned, you have KPIs, targets, and so on, and sometimes you could just say whatever you need to hire someone. Yeah. On the other hand, the big responsibility that you have, that you might be making someone to change country, change life, or change from one job to another job, and you can, like, don't say, for example, specific things about company that not sounds good for that specific person, or these kinds of, details that, here is very good, but the salary is not the best on the market, or I don't know, the technology is going to work actually in the project, I know it's not true. So I'm 20 years on the market, so I already saw everything that you can imagine, just for people to hire, also guys that just want to leave. And it's, as you mentioned, the word is responsibility. There is a big responsibility on this. It's very important to mention. Okay, now I want to know if you have. I mean, my case I think was easy. Yeah? I'm an easy person. You just hired me, etc., etc. But did you have any funny or exotic case or story that you could share, like with candidates? I don't know, something that, I don't know, outside from the usual. You have some story like this?
Yes, but I need to mention that you wasn't like that easy case,
It was easy.
Just to hire that star in cybersec, it's not easy, trust me. But coming back to the question, yes, we have like plenty of small and funny cases like every day, and we have our internal chats with other recruiters to share it, just to also keep this fun part of our job. But maybe one situation that I really recall, it was also related to relocation, because we relocate people from different part of this world, and usually people relocate with their families, cats, dogs, plenty of stuff, etc. So we need to take care of the flights, tickets for them, and also for the whole relocation process with the formalities with government, embassies, etc. But once I had a candidate who wanted to relocate a piano. And it was a very important stuff and instrument to him, because it was kind of a family heritage. So after grandmother or father, I don't remember already, but it was a very difficult thing to do, because of course it was outside of all the procedures that we had.
Yeah.
And we had to take care of this special treatment of this instrument. And also when it comes to transportation, it was quite difficult to find even a proper company to do that. But finally, we did it. I mean, because we understood that this is kind of an important thing for the candidate.
Yeah.
But it only shows that, in our life, there are a lot of situations that are not under any procedure, any process that we have in place. And then we need to be really open to understand the person on the other side. We need to have enough empathy. And try to find a solution simply. And sometimes it really requires a lot of job, a lot of time, outside of our target, outside of our KPIs, as you mentioned. But this is something that, in my understanding, recruiters should do. So that's one maybe funny story to share.
Oh, interesting. A piano. And I had a cat and a dog, and I think I was special already. You see, there are different cases. Huh? I remember after I was hired, but then I had this wedding scheduled. Then I send you the message like wedding, and you are answering. This is the funniest message ever, like wedding. You are
Yes,
inviting
I
me or what?
remember. I remember this message, the subject line wedding. So I said, "Oh wow! So candidates are inviting me for their weddings now. That's nice. That's nice." So yeah. So actually, yes, your case and your let's say time in your personal, private life was also kind of important, that we also needed to somehow take into consideration. But then, and again, we come back to the relationship, the recruiter and candidate. This is like a partnership, in my understanding, and we need to be as honest as possible during the whole recruitment process. That's the key thing.
No, also because just bringing some more context for this part, for example, in Brazil we have like the same big market and all this difficult to hire, etc., etc., etc. And in the past, I mean, I'm out for 2 years, so in the past I remember that there was a problem with recruiters, that no feedbacks, for example, like no negative feedbacks. Oh, you are not approved. So sometimes we were waiting, just waiting, and you need the job, etc., etc. So and you don't know what's happening, and you need to get in touch, etc., etc. Can be kind of not comfortable. This was one point, but I want to mention a case and also ask if you had some kind of problems. For example, I remember a case that the recruiter from my company, she was getting like the guy who was being interviewed, he was more actually he was not interested in the job itself. He was interested in her. So the getting the interview was just a shortcut for you are a nice girl, nice hair, blah blah blah, and all these things that happens between people, but not on this specific context, and shouldn't have happen. Did you had something similar? I mean, maybe it's Brazilian stuff, but I need to ask: did you had some kind of problems, and if you have, how to deal with this? How to be, polite and don't, say bad words for this person, for example.
Yeah, I think that this is just a human being thing, not Brazilian only. So, yes, I did. And I think that most of the people, also men who are working in recruitment area, they have such situations, believe me. So, yeah, it happens. And also some people are, for example, probably they are in a mistake and they use LinkedIn instead of Tinder application, for example. So it happens all the time as well. But then you just need to be very consistent and to communicate clearly that it is not the place and also the time when we can speak in that way, and simply that we are not interested in this type of situations. And each and every time when I said it very clearly, there wasn't a problem for the longer time. Of course, it depends on the person on the other side, and I am aware of that. But if we are really if we communicate it really clearly, then it shouldn't be a case for a longer time. In worst scenario, we can block the person on our email address and also in LinkedIn. But to be honest, I didn't have such weird situations.
Well, less worse than say, because I heard about a lot of situations that topic for another podcast, other episode, for example.
Devsecops. Devsecops.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry. So I wanted to say that I had one situation when I was really afraid, but not in this context of relationships between male and female, but it was just a candidate who couldn't accept the negative feedback that I shared. And I was feeling a bit threatened even. So that was a very difficult story that I remember. And for the half of the year, more or less, I was really afraid of going outside office, for example, the office area, because that was a time before Corona, where we had this face-to-face interviews, so the candidates could know and could meet us really in face-to-face. So that was really difficult to me, and I will probably remember that always.
Oh my god! Yeah, that was also an interesting case. Have negative feedbacks, or because you are on the recruitment side, but HR also sometimes they need to fire people. And
yes.
it can be even worse. Yes. But and also you are, as a recruiter, you are not giving the feedback yourself. It was from the technical team, I imagine. Managers from the tasks, etc. You are just the messenger on this case. So it's
true, but sometimes we are also, a person who advise on the soft skills part and this kind of feedback. And here we had both, technical feedback and behavioral one. But still, I was the one to pass it to this candidate. It might be difficult, but this is our job, and we need to do it despite of the reactions. Yeah.
That's why I usually say I prefer to work with computers, because people give too much trouble. But sometimes computers also give trouble.
It depends on your computer skills, For me, it is in the opposite way.
yes, exactly. Okay, Karolina, now I want to move the conversation to another point, which is, okay, we talked about the recruitment side, the challenges, also the funny parts, some specific case. That's very good part from this perspective, but people are there. There are plenty of opportunities for them. And what they should do to get the dream job, because I remember my past times, my dream was to work in a specific bank in Brazil. The Brazilians will know it's Itaú. It was my dream to work there. Then I had a lot of friends who were working there and said, "Oh my god, it's shit, don't go there, blah blah blah." Other friends, "Oh my god, it's very nice, it's awesome." In the end, I never worked there. Probably will not no work there anymore. And but what tips do you have for candidates, like, I don't know, CV interviews, how to do not behave on face to face, do not threat the recruiters, for example, and all this kind of things? What you'd say, like, in general, for people who want their dream job or first job in their career also? What do you say about this?
Mm-hmm. So, high level tip at the very beginning. So, first of all, think about the things that you really want to achieve and what is the direction that you want to follow when it comes to your career. Quite often I see that people have some kind of dreams, or they are just, going with the flow, and whenever they are, hiring in this company or that, it doesn't matter for them. So first of all, please try to think about your real goal and real achievements that you want to somehow have in your life. It is important to decide what is interesting for you, and then it is really easier to go step by step and to achieve it. Also, you said about this dream job. I think that we should start, and maybe we should cut our dreams a bit for the smaller parts. So sometimes we have this goal which is very high and very difficult to achieve. Maybe start with the smaller parts, and let's do it step by step. If our goal is too high, then it can be demotivated for us. And this is something that we probably don't want to have. But going to the more specifics and technical details, let's start with the CV. So that's the most important document in the recruitment process. And people still make a lot of mistakes creating the CVs. So please check your contact details if they are valid. That's the first thing and quite important. So we can also reach out to you. Then the length of the CV. I would say that, 1 or 2 pages, this is the maximum length of the CV. Do not create like the 10-page story of your life.
I had a 6-page one in the past. Imagine.
It's not good because we have around sometimes 15 seconds for the first scanning of the CVs. So believe me that then, 10 or even 6 pages, it is a bit too much.
Mm-hmm.
So 1-2 pages, it is totally enough. Then I also recommend to specify your tasks, because if you say in your CV, for example, that you are a software developer, it says nothing to me. So I would like to know if you work on backend, front end, on web, mobile, desktop applications, cloud, on-premise, etc. This is quite important to me from the very beginning, because thanks to that, I can adjust the jobs that I have, for example, in my offer, to your skills and also your previous experience. Then the general aesthetic, of course, of this document. So do not put too much distracting colors, graphics, pictures, everything. It's too much sometimes, and it doesn't look good. And speaking about the picture, if you put it, because you don't need to in most of the countries, but if you put it, then make sure that this is quite elegant and professional. It is maybe not the space, to say us, where have you been in the last holidays, laying down on the palm tree with the fancy drink. It's not the place, really. Then I would say that also, sharing the private information, too much private, for example, on your religion or your marital status, this is not necessary. Maybe there are some countries and cultures where it is well noticed, let's say, and well perceived. But in Europe, for example, I would say that this is rather not something that you should put in your CV. Remember that sometimes too much information might be not beneficial for you in the end, because we are all human beings. There are people who have some bias, and we all have bias. We need to be only aware of them.
Yeah.
But because of that information and giving too much information, you can be also sometimes, in the worst scenarios, rejected due to that fact. So please avoid it. And also, maybe it is also a good habit to apply for challenging roles. So, challenge yourself a bit if you want to develop your skills, and in general, if your self-development is something important to you, then don't look for the same job as you have right now, because that would be actually the step backward. Please find something more challenging, and also I recommend to do it, because then you can learn something more, and then you can also go forward with your whole career path. So definitely, when choosing the new job opportunity, you should also choose the ones that gives you some new skills, new areas of development, etc. So this is regarding the CV, and also LinkedIn profile. I need to mention it. LinkedIn is one of the most important recruitment tool nowadays, like global one. So it's really important to have the LinkedIn profile, of course, updated, fully updated and up to date with all the dates, for example, in your career, also the names of the companies, also your responsibilities, your skills, etc. If you are active on LinkedIn, also the LinkedIn algorithm gives you the better place in the whole network. So it is really good to be active there. So you can also receive a lot of opportunities coming from the market, and you can just choose whatever you want. So yeah, that's I think the most important things.
Oh, interesting. Because I already saw CVs with like half of one page even. I was mentioning like 6 pages, but I already saw half of one page, and it was experienced professional. Like, you forgot to finish or what happens. Also, I saw some cases of people who were have not have. I mean, how to say this? Companies that were looking for the digital profile of this person. So, oh, okay, you have a nice CV, etc., etc. But let me see your LinkedIn page. Let me see your Instagram page, your Facebook page. So we were spending your time talk bad about the government. Oh, so you spend your time posting on I don't know, parties every night. So so that does it mean that you're gonna come late to the next day to the job, and or this kind of things that we do not show as person. We do not show in the interview. Oh, Karolina, you want to hire me, but I'm a drunk. I will be drunk every day. So do you see this kind of searching as a beneficial part, or you think it's like no, it's too much from a company perspective to do this kind of things, even though that it's public information? Yeah, people are publishing this.
Yeah, we do it. I
Yeah.
mean, we, yes,
Awesome.
we
Perfect answer.
uh, we do it because it can give us more information that you want to share. We are here to assess the candidates, so of course we want to, give you the opportunity to develop in our company. But on the other hand, we are also in the relationships with the business, with the hiring managers, and we cannot make a mishire. So because it costs, I mean, recruitment is
Yes.
money. So we want to really choose the suitable person, the most suitable person for the job. And we check the social media, of course. And nowadays we need to be aware that actually whatever we post in the internet, it exists there. If we don't really take care of the content, that it might be an issue. Well, I think that this, politics things, we shouldn't be really much involved into that. But again, if you share too much, it can, lead you to the situation when you just meet another person on the other side, and this person is biased, for example, on that particular path in the politics, let's say, or in your private life. If someone doesn't like, I don't know, parties, etc., and they see a lot of party photos in your profile, that it might be an issue. So it is good to have your own strategy, the reasonable one, when it comes to sharing like our private life in the social media. If you want to do it and if you need it, then maybe it is better to have the profile without your full name, let's say. It is kind of a way that we can omit this kind of uncomfortable situations.
I would say that just behave as a normal human, even with digital profiles. Like, you don't need to shit post things. Just post normal things. I don't know. Post whatever you want. This is your life. I don't care. Okay. Last question, Karolina, so you can move to the end. What do you think about the market in general? Because we lack of professionals, I would say. I mean, IT is one thing, but in cybersecurity, I need to say that I spent already 2 years trying to find a candidate for a company. When I was working on this company, I was the technical recruiter, let's say. So I was applying the tests and corrections, all these things. And we spent 2 years to find the proper person. And then I left the company, and for sure they are still looking for. So, and I was also teaching universities, etc., etc. I'm involved on this events, conference. I know a bit. So my point is, we lack of professionals. That's clear. Yeah, we have too many demand. Or do you think we lack of professionals because we have demand, but we don't have enough qualified professionals. Because I would say that there's no more job than persons in the world. Yeah? We don't have more job opportunities than people, but capable people can be different. Yeah. So how do you see this picture? You think that people are not okay? I need to study and dedicate and find my career path to find for a job, etc., etc., etc. Or no, there are too many jobs and for sure not enough people. I mean, for example, I have some friends in Canada that they're facing this aging, too many old people, and they need to bring people from abroad, etc., etc. Also, it was a problem in Japan about this kind of things. How do you, as a recruiter, experienced one, how you see this picture?
You touch very broad topic actually with that question, and it will be probably hard to me to put my thoughts in the order, but let's try. So definitely we live in this era of digitalization. So almost in each company, these IT specialists are necessary. So in each company, there are some IT solutions, and of course, people are necessary to make it live. And what you said, companies are investing a lot of money in some kind of programs for students, for internships, some academia for people who want to get into this IT world. But in the end, what I can observe that there is a situation when we do it, there are a lot of boot camps, a lot of trainings, and people can actually switch somehow their current job to IT, but it's not that easy because then we go to the wall and we see the managers, the hiring managers, who have very high requirements regarding the skills and competences of the new employees. So there are plenty of people who would like to get into this IT world, but the IT world is probably not ready for that, which is a very controversial situation in my opinion, because on one hand we need people, but on the other hand we don't have this path for the juniors and for people who want to get into this world with probably low level of skills. So IT world needs very qualified and very senior or at least mid-level professionals right now. And yeah, there is a huge gap between the number of people who are qualified enough to comparing to this number of job ads available on the market. And this situation will last longer, probably for the next 10, 20 years. So we need to be somehow ready as companies and as employers for that market scenario. But there will be a lot of changes still. So the dynamics will stay with us, and also this transformation will be all the time with us. So there will be, for example, in one sector, there will be layoffs. In the other sector, there will be like even increase of the new hires. I think that cybersec is one of the best when it comes to this increase. So there will be more and more opportunities in cybersec, but probably not for junior people, rather for those qualified and really with the best skills. Also, what I would like to highlight here is that more and more often we take care of the soft skills. Even in IT engineering world, this part is very, very important and significant. So emotional intelligence and also the skills when it comes to communication between people becomes even more and more significant for employers. Like AI, can probably do many things instead of the human being, but this emotional intelligence is something that will distinguish us from this full automation, let's say. So that's my view on that. I think that the situation is complicated, especially that, as I said, employers are not ready yet to really face this challenge. And now we are living in a kind of dreams where we can find a perfect candidate, like well suited and also in the budget, which is always a topic. In most of the cases, we need to have some compromise between our requirements and the situation on the market. And there are a lot of tough discussions between us as recruiters and, business leaders, how to meet somehow halfway to really hire someone, and also not to waste too much time, too much money for this hiring process. So that's my view on that.
Very good topic. I would say that this could be a topic for this forums and round table. A lot of people discussing this because it's very hard to say. I can give just a bit of pepper on this topic, which is from the teaching perspective. When I was in universities, I mean, at least in Brazil, I taught in four or five different institutions, huh? And what I could see from perspective was from the 100% of the students, I could say easily that 80% they are just there. Life bring them there for some reason. They are there, or they just heard that, oh, IT has good salaries. Let's try this. I remember my first class, I was like, guys, if you think about good salaries, you need to go for modeling, Neymar. This guys has good salaries. IT is no good salaries about this. You need to be Lewandowski. This guys has good salaries. We don't have it. So, and 80% of the students, they were just there, so they were not committed to this. They didn't want to be good professionals. They just want some knowledge to get into market, has some medium salary, that's all. And this, it's a problematic on the other hand, because you said management and companies, they have higher requirements and people don't have these skills because they didn't get prepared for that. And this 20% that people who was they're committed, they wanted to learn, etc., then it goes to the market, has good jobs, etc., but still not enough for the demand. So I would put this perspective also. Like, I see that not too many people are engaged on finding a good job or being a good profession. They just want, I don't know, mid-level or something, which is okay for them, but we're talking about market in general, and it can impact the whole society, I would say. Right?
Yeah. To add on that, I think that this sick situation on the market, because we need to call it like that, created this impression, especially in young generation, that if you put anything related to IT in your CV, and if you have only the studies in that area, then you are almost like a god, and then you can just treat people like rubbish even, and you can have like very high requirements, and everything is actually sky's the limit. This is not the true, and this is a very false impression, but actually we should think also who did it. I mean, maybe also companies like, let's say, startups. Nothing, not bad word about startups, but sometimes there are some companies which are damaging the job market, the local job market, with the offers that are too much, like outside of the general budget, outside of the general salary ranges. And because of this, actually, this type of situation and sick job market happened also in Poland, where I work.
Yeah, that's very good, very hot topic, I would say, for discussion. But we're almost out of the time. I want to ask last question. If someone wants to work as you do, as an IT recruiter, what you would say? Don't do that, or please come, we need help.
Definitely, we need help, and we need also people who are passionate about this job, who will be persistent and who will be willing, to read more about technologies, who will try to be at least communicated with the candidates and with the business, to be also a good advisor for both sides. So I would say that, guys, do that. It can be fun, but it also requires a bit of an effort from your side.
Good. So they need helping, guys. Also, and you mentioned very very quick this point, like budget is also it's also a problem sometimes. Yeah, because company, okay, I want the best developer, but I have 1,000 zlotys. So what is this? Yeah, and do you think that it's a lack of business perspective on, okay, how much this kind of person costs? Or they just know, I have this money, and I want the Lamborghini, but Lamborghini is 1-2 millions, and I don't have 100,000. How do you see this? It's company problem, recruitment problem. How do you see it?
It is very complicated, and I would say that this is the recruitment problem in general, and different businesses coming from the different sides. So, for example, in the corporate world, we usually have like a few sides of the same problem, and people have different requirements coming from different sides, and it is very often quite difficult to meet at the same point. So, for example, we need to think about the cost of hire, for example, in Poland comparing to India. And then we can choose if we hire people in India or in Poland, but for the specific budget that we have for Polish job market, for example. So here we need to always make some trade. And there are a lot of discussions behind that probably candidate cannot see, and a lot of dilemmas as well when it comes to this salary topic. Also, the big companies have their policies when it comes to salaries, and we also need to take into consideration the current salaries within the team, the particular project. Let's say here we need to be also fair. So there are many aspects to take into consideration. Also, if we want to develop our local job market, let's say in Poland, we need to be somehow competitive comparing to other countries. And if the salaries are going higher, then we probably lose this attractiveness for the investors. So it is quite difficult topic with many aspects to take into consideration. But definitely this is not the bad will from the employer's side. So there are more and more aspects, really.
Okay, this is also, I would say, we took from this conversation 3 or 4 more topics for the next 4 episodes, so you are already invited if you want. Karolina, thank you very much for your time. We are, out of the time already. Again, thank you so much, because I know that time for us, it's complicated. Yeah, we are trying to set up this episode already for a year, more or less, I would say. Yeah. So please, final words, if you want to say something, if you want to promote your LinkedIn, if you're looking for a job, it's time to announce it.
Sure. So thank you for the invitation once again. It was a really nice conversation, and I hope that you guys can take something from that for you. Please visit my LinkedIn, Karolina Sochasz. You can find me there. If you have any questions, if you would like to have some advice regarding your career, then I am here to help you. Thank you once again.
Very good, guys. Thank you. So see you next week on the next episode of the Devsecops podcast. Karolina, thank you again.
Thank you.
That was Devsecops, your cybersecurity in technology podcast. Devsecops, finishing now.